Hi, welcome to Bougie in a Backpack podcast. My name is Angel Trin, and I'm one of the co-founders of Bougie in a Backpack. I'm the most active on Instagram at Pennywise Traveler, and I'm so excited to have Mary here today. So Mary, she's actually one of our upcoming speakers in our upcoming Bougie in a Backpack virtual summit. Hi Mary, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing real good, thank you.
Do you want to give us a quick introduction about yourself?
Okay, in 2017, my husband Tim and I sold our house, packed up our lives, and hit the road in an RV. We've never looked back. 8 years and thousands of miles later, we're still traveling full time, exploring beautiful places, and making unforgettable memories with our family.
Wow. So what made you sell the house and just suddenly go in an RV?
Well, part of what pushed us to make the leap was something deeply personal. My sister and her husband both passed away in their 50s. My husband's brother was killed by a drunk driver at the age of 28, and long before they ever got the chance to retire or travel and live out their dreams. And watching that happen was heartbreaking. And it was a reminder that tomorrow isn't promised. It hit me hard, and I knew we couldn't keep waiting for someday to come. We had to start living now.
Well, I'm sorry that all happened to you, but that's a great wake-up call that you had. So I just wanted to ask, so when your sister and her husband passed away, did they even have all the stuff like you know how like people set the boxes, like you buy a house, you have retirement and all those things, and that still happened to them like regardless of
Yes.
what happened?
Yep, they had the house. They were both working full time. They had the kids. They never got to see their kids get married. They never got to see their grandkids. And it was, a shock, a shock.
What happened to them?
My sister ended up with a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And then 3 years later, her husband passed away he had sugar diabetes real bad. And I still think it was a broken heart. But so
I'm sorry to hear about that, but that just shows you how life is so limited because it's kind of like what you're saying. It was like health issues that happened to your
yes,
sister and her husband, and then for your husband's brother, it was like a drunk driver. So you never know whether it be
yes,
health related or randomly that something like that can happen to you.
correct.
So when your sister, when she passed away and her husband passed away, before this even happened, did you feel like they had like all the society standards? Like they were like, oh, like I have the house, I have kids, I did everything that I was supposed to do. Did they ever like make time to travel or anything?
They did not. They actually had planned to go to Hawaii for their 25th anniversary, for their wedding anniversary, and they never got that chance.
Wow. It just shows you how like life can just happen like that. Like you never know when healthcare just comes out of like I've had friends who didn't even know that they had like stage 4 like cancer or anything until like one day like they're like, oh, like now it's detected in your body. And sometimes it's like very aggressive as well.
Yes, exactly.
Wow. So when you had those two different incidents, did they happen really close to each other? Like when your brother-in-law passed away and also your sister and her husband, were they all relatively like within like a year or two, or like when all that things happened?
Yep, it was about 2, 3 years apart.
Oh wow. So that was like after like they like you know how they say like the power of three? So when you saw three different
Yes.
incidents, you're like, okay, this is like enough. Like I need to
Yeah,
like
right.
actually like get the show on the road and stuff.
Yep. Yes, exactly.
So before that happened for your family and everything, were you into travel or not, or you didn't prioritize it as much?
We did travel because our family is spread out. Our parents were in Buffalo. We were originally from Buffalo and we moved to Florida in 2003. In 2015, we moved to Kansas to be closer to the grandkids. And we built a house there and thought we'd see the grandkids more. But turns out when you're there, you don't. You actually see them more when you travel. So and my husband's son is in California. So we decided it just made sense at the time to buy an RV then, and so we could live life and see everybody on our own schedule. We did travel every summer. We would pack up and go up to New York and see our parents and stuff. And we had to have somebody take care of the grass. We had to have somebody take care of the pool. So it just it's a lot easier with the RV, and we get to see so much more.
That's great. I'm glad that you like the RV. So what is like RV life compared to living in like house life?
You just get to travel more and see more. Like the kids, like my grandson's graduating from high school in May. So we're going to be able to go to that, and we don't have to worry about, what's behind. We get to park in my son's driveway and we can stay as long as we want. We don't feel like we're imposing by staying with them. So, and we don't have to worry about finding hotels along the way. We can take our time and travel. And if we want to stop and see something along the way, we can do that.
That's great. So, like, for you in your RV, because it's a limited space, do you have all like the different kitchen gadgets and stuff? Like, you know how people cook out of an air fryer, an instant pot, and everything? Does that all that stuff because you go from like a house, like a
Yeah.
RV, like how does that
Yeah.
translate to like shopping and everything for
Well,
groceries?
I actually owned a restaurant before we started doing this. So I had all the kitchen gadgets, and right now I have my air fryer, my Instapot, my slow cooker. We have our Blackstone outside, and we made sure that I had enough room to store all this stuff. So
You do have those because, like, I feel like for me, if I was to hit the road, I'm like, no, I use that air fryer like every day. I use that like
yeah.
the Instant Pot like all the
Mhm.
time. I also use a blender too. So like, I need to
Yep.
have like
You know,
user.
yep.
Wait, that you have
I have my Ninja blender. I actually just got a Ninja slushy machine. So I just make sure my Instapot air fryer slash sits on the counter all the time because I use it every day. So
so if you're concerned about not having your kitchen gadgets, look, she's making it work.
yep, yep. And I love to cook. So there's, got everything I
How
need.
do you plan it out accordingly? Because you know how like for the RV it's so small. Like, do you go to the grocery store like every 1 or 2 days, or like how do you plan it out the groceries?
No, actually, since COVID, I have a residential refrigerator, so I don't have to
Oh.
worry about storing my stuff. And this is my pantry right here, so I have plenty of room. I usually get wherever we are, I get my groceries delivered ever since COVID, so I have it delivered, and I'm usually good for. I try to plan for 1 to 2 weeks, depending, especially if we're going to be in a spot where we're out in the desert and I can't get groceries. So I try to plan the meals and plan ahead.
So you're literally like living like a normal person, literally. Because then I think that's a
Yeah,
concern that people have. They're like, hey, like I'm not
right.
gonna have all the stuff like I need. Like I don't have my kitchen gadgets, I don't have my full-blown kitchen and everything. And like for you, it's like, no, I have my air fryer, I have my instant pot, I have my blender, so it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, yeah. I have everything. The only thing I don't have in here is a regular oven because I have a convection microwave, and I can cook up to a 15-pound turkey in there. So I'm not missing anything.
Well, even in the air fryer, it's like the way I see an air fryer, it's like a fast oven. That's how I see it. It's like you can
Yep.
still use that kind of like an oven in a way, but maybe you just have to chop up stuff more to make it fit all in there.
Right. Right. And I've done a 5-pound turkey breast in the air fryer. So I mean, you can make. There's nothing I can't make. So
Yeah, I mean that's good. Yeah, because I think that's like a concern that people have. And then like, what about like other activities, like like going to the gym or like anything else like that? Do you work out in the RV or outside the RV, or how does that look like?
a lot of walking. Because all the campgrounds that we go to, I mean, walking, especially in Florida here, we go for daily walks, and you can walk around our park that we're at right now. I believe it's 3 miles if we wanted to walk around the whole park. And every day you'll see people out walking at 7 in the morning, and it's just talking to the people, and you talk to everybody when you're out camping.
Yeah, that makes sense. So like for you, has there any been downsides to like switching to an RV?
Probably the only downside was last year when my mother-in-law passed away and we were out on the road. We were in Kansas and she had gotten real sick, so Tim wasn't able to be there, while she was in the hospital and stuff. And then we got the news that she passed away, so we had to hurry back to Buffalo for the funeral and stuff. But pretty much that's it.
Wow. I'm sorry that happened to you too. It's like I feel like you're getting all these wake up calls like now all of a sudden, from all the
Yeah,
different family members.
yeah.
But it does show you that like how for you, you kind of like made the right decision because you saw how life was short. And when you saw those three things happen at like within a few years of each other, you're like, no, this is like enough. So like for you before living in the RV, you were a full-time restaurant owner. So you just literally just sold the business and just never looked back for
Yeah, and that was a problem too when we wanted to travel in the summer because I had to make sure I had somebody taking care of it. while I was gone, and people aren't very reliable. So sometimes you just had to close and go. So we couldn't stay away that long either. And now we can stay wherever we want for as long as we want.
So how did you save up for that? Like, because I'm curious. It's like, how do you manage like a day to day for like money wise? Because like you missed your old income from being a restaurant owner from doing this.
Yeah. We just, we had some savings, and then we both turned 65. So we're on Social Security, and you just have to budget. That's the whole thing. You have to budget and plan ahead. Our biggest expense is probably fuel, and with that said, you just decide where, stay a few more days in one place, like we'll go, like the one year we did Arizona, and we would go one stop like Winslow, Arizona, and we'd stay there for a few days. And then the next stop was maybe 100 miles, and we'd stay there for a few days. Whereas we're not going every night, we're not going somewhere new. So that's how we save on fuel there. And then boondocking, which is dry camping. There's no hookups. And if you do that, you're saving on campground fees. So you just have to budget ahead of time. And like I said before, plan your meals so you're not, don't go shopping hungry, the old standard rule. So you plan ahead. That's it.
So for those of us that don't know, what is this dry camping thing, the unagi that you mentioned?
That boondocking is when you go to a place like we do Harvest Hosts, which is you can stay at 1,500 wineries and farms and museums for free. We pay the yearly membership fee, and then we'll go. I like a lot of wineries, so we'll go to the winery and we stay there. There's no electric hookup, there's no sewer hookup, and there's no water hookup. So we fill our freshwater tank. We make sure we have enough water. We have a generator, so if our batteries get low, we run our generator to charge our batteries. But we can boondock for probably 4 or 5 days before we need to dump our tanks. And it's a lot of people will go to like Arizona out in the west. They have BLM land Bureau of Land Management, which is owned by the government, and you can stay in those spots for up to 14 days if you wanted to, and it doesn't cost anything.
Really? I never knew
Mhm.
that you can stay up to 14 days for like free and stuff. Like, how
Yes.
much is the annual membership?
For Harvest Hosts, I believe it's like 140, but the Bureau of Land Management is nothing.
So like a
Yeah.
hundred, because you think of like $140, that's like a hotel night for all that.
Right.
And
Right.
yeah, and then
Yep.
that's
And
your
you do,
membership.
and they have a standard, like they want you to buy, something from the host. And I mean, it's not hard to buy a 30 bottle of wine. I'd rather buy a 30 bottle of wine or eat at the restaurant we're staying at, because you're getting your meal, you're getting you're having fun. There's entertainment. A lot of the wineries will have music. So you're getting the entertainment along with that. And then you don't have to worry about driving drunk. You just walk out to your RV and you go to sleep for the night.
I have never heard of this. This is such like the bougie in the backpack way. Like so insane. Like your membership, right? Like you said, it costs like $140 a year. $140 is like one night easily at a
Yeah.
hotel. And then for you, you're like, well, I don't need electricity or any of those other stuff. And if I buy like, do you buy like dinner like every day at the like what is considered like fair? Like, do you usually buy like at least one thing a day, or like what is this fair to like the winery for like
Um,
using your land?
no, actually, there's a couple spots that we had stayed at for 2 or 3 nights, and we would buy, the first night we buy a bottle of wine, and then, enjoy that, sit out by the camper, and just enjoy a nice sunset. And then maybe the second night we do a dinner. So, I mean, you're getting
Okay,
you're
so
getting something in return.
yeah, I guess that's like kind of like cool because like I think for me when you say that I think about like how like in New York, you know how like in the I mean I don't know if how familiar you are, but like in the summertime they will have free movies in the park like at different parks and stuff. This is
Mhm,
your activity, like where you
mhm.
literally go to these different wineries because you have the membership. And you were like, okay, well, I want to explore this winery today, and I'm gonna stay there for like 4 or 5 days because that's how long my dinner will last. And then there's entertainment there, they have like music there or whatever activity that they have there. So it's like your form of like I guess it's like how like you're traveling to all these different wineries. I like that
I
concept.
do. I plan it
That's
out,
like,
so.
like you're you know how people think of people going to Napa, but you're doing the bougie in the backpack way. You're like, no, 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 no. We're gonna take this to the next level. We are not gonna drive drunk. We're not paying for an expensive hotel. That
Right?
membership cost is only $140 a year for me to have an RV and park it there. I'm gonna go to a few different wineries and buy one thing a day at the different winery. And this is my form of concept of winery, like what's it called? Winery hopping? Like where you
Right.
visit
Yeah.
the bunch of different wineries. I
Yeah.
have never heard of this
Yep.
concept, so I'm kind of like
Yep.
amazed because I think of how expensive going to Napa Valley and Sonoma is, but you're doing it such in the cheaper way that I never thought because it's like when you go to a winery, you know how you buy wine there anyway, and you buy like or like the what's it called flight when they have the
Yeah,
different
I do. Yep. And I do the wine tasting too when we're there too. So you get to
yeah, and then
figure
like
out
for
what you
you,
want.
yeah, and then I think for you it's like no, we're not gonna do it that way. We're gonna get something in additional to that. We're gonna get like a free night stay at the winery itself and
Yep.
explore the winery, look at the grapes or whatever the winery has. And like, I've actually never thought of this concept. So it's kind of like, I never thought of this. It's kind of like, where have you done this? Like, now I'm kind of curious. Like, where the other places
Oh,
have you done
we've done this all across the U.S. There's this really neat one in Pennsylvania that had wine ice cream, and it's like, yeah, that was probably my favorite spot. But
really?
yeah, we've been Florida, yep, Florida, New York, all the way up to New York because we're from Buffalo, so we go there every summer, and then all across South Dakota, North Dakota. We went all the way to the west. We went all the way to Devil's Tower, and then back down through Arizona, and then back to Florida. I mean, like I said, there's Frid's wineries, farms, and museums, and it's amazing to see so much.
Never like I'm just sorry, I'm just amazed. I've never heard of
Yeah.
someone traveling for wine this way. And it's such like I'm just amazed because I've never heard of someone taking an RV to like go to these different wineries. But it's a smart concept. Like I've never thought of that, you know?
Yeah. So now next time you're at a winery and you see an RV park there, you'll know.
I just never knew that there was a membership for that. Like for like whatever what other memberships are you part of besides the wine one?
We belong to like FMCA, Family Motor Coach Association, Good Sam, Passport America, where we get discounts from campgrounds. And we actually just signed up for Thousand Trails, which is one membership fee, and then you can travel across the country and stay for up to 14 nights at each place. And most of them don't cost anything in addition to the membership fee, which is like 600 for the year. And then, except I think like if you go down to the Keys, it might be like $20 a night, which it's on the list. We haven't done that yet.
Oh, that's amazing. But even then, like to pay $600 a year, it's still like I think I feel like it's about almost the same if you go to like at least a few different wineries because you're buying something at the winery
Right,
anyway. This one
right.
doesn't charge you for the what's it called? Like does this one have like the build-ups and stuff? Like you know how like the other one, the winery doesn't have the electric or anything like that. Does this one
Yeah,
have all the stuff that you need?
yes. The Thousand Trails campgrounds have the electric, the sewer, the water. Most of them will have a swimming pool.
So for us that has never stayed in I've never like stayed in RV. So when you do the winery one, what do you do with all the sewage? Sorry, like what I have never been in one, so like what is the
Yeah, see,
process?
yeah, no, we can, and that's one of the stipulations. You have to be self-contained, meaning you don't need to dump. You don't need to have a sewer. And we can go up to four or five nights without dumping our tanks. So once we leave, I usually try to plan like 2 nights at a Harvest Hosts, and then the third night we'll stop at a campground so we have water, sewer, and we get to dump our tanks. If not, then there's like Loves and Flying J's has a dump station where you can go and pay $10 and dump your tanks if you need to.
Oh, so where do you normally normally you dump your stuff, the sewage and stuff at a campground, but if you can't, you go
Yep.
to that how many like I've because I never stayed at one, like how far away are they like from each other? Like do you go on like Google is it like easy to go on Google Maps to map it out or like how what is the process for someone who's never done something like this before?
To go to where? Dump stations or
Yeah, yeah, like how do you
campgrounds?
find them? Like is it easy to find like the dump stations and the campgrounds and stuff?
Actually, Harvest Host has a dump station map built right into it. So you can just look
Nice.
up, yep, it'll show where you're at, and then you can find the closest dump station if you needed to do that.
Are they like usually like 24/7, like the dump stations and stuff? Like you or does it a certain hours
Yeah,
you can do?
Some of them might be if they're in a campground, might be certain hours, but Loves and Flying J's like that, you can dump anytime.
Wow. So it's not that hard. Because like for me, like when I
No.
think about this, I'm like, well, where like the electricity and the other hookups and stuff. I've also I know people have done this in the past. I don't know if you do this or not, but some people they will park at Walmart because they said it's free to park
We
at Walmart.
Yes, not all Walmarts allow it because of city ordinances, but we have done a few Walmarts along our travels. Also, Cracker Barrel, Cabela's allows some of them allow it. So there are a few spots along the way if you needed to. And RV Loves RV Stops is a newer one, and you can stop there for overnight, and they're like $40 for the night, and they do have the electric and the sewer and stuff. So you can it's easy. There's a map, you just look it up on the map.
I know for like a person like me who has never done something like this, I'm just like amazed because it's like I've never heard of someone like no, I'm serious. Like I've never heard of someone going to like tour different wineries and map out their travels based on winery. But it's so smart though. Like it's smart.
I search out the wineries over museums. We've stayed at quite a few museums too, air museums and car museums, because my husband's into cars. So we've but I prefer the wineries.
No, I don't blame you. How far in advance, like, are they usually hard to book or are they pretty easy to book? Like, how filled up do they get?
Now lately, like over the summer, I try to map out my route for a couple months in advance, and sometimes it changes, but you can do the Harvest Host, you can book up to 24 hours in advance if you need to. Some of them even allow the same day. You can book it the same day if you happen, like you're on the road and you forgot to, or you're tired, then you just see if they have a same day option, and you can book it right then.
Wow. So like for you, how do you I guess like for like I don't know because I've never like like lived in an RV, so it's like how do you really like map out like do you just map it out based on the what's ever available and you just plan backwards for all the different wineries you plan to hop on like and everything?
I map out my route in segments. So like when we leave here, I'll map it out from here to Kansas where we're going for the graduation. And then after that, we're going to Gatlinburg for a rally. So I'll map out the first section from here to Kansas, and I'll make that route. And then I usually try to, see, we like to drive about 200 miles a day. So
Hmm.
I'll figure out them 200 miles and see at 200 miles if there's a Harvest Host available. If not, sometimes it's 250, 300. We don't like to drive any more than 300 miles a day, but there's usually something along the route. And if we have to go a little bit out of our way, that's fine too. I mean, we're retired. We're not in a hurry.
Yeah, I'm just amazed that this is your retired life. Like you went from like being a like was your husband also a restaurant owner too?
No, he was a truck driver.
Oh wow. So he's used to driving long drives.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like 300 miles, that's like usually around like how many hours of that is driving? That's usually like,
Driving an RV takes longer than driving a car, because we could do our trip from here to Buffalo, from Florida to Buffalo in 18 hours in a car, and we could do it straight through. But you get tired driving, and you stop, and we let the dog out, make a bunch of stops. We'll stop and eat lunch along the way, because I mean, I got a full kitchen, so I can do that. And so, yeah, it can take us to go 200 miles. It can take us 5, 6 hours.
so like, wait, so you bring a dog with you too? Is it hard to bring a dog with you too? Because like, you think of like the dog, like you know how like when you're like, because my parents have a dog, they have like a house, for the dog to roam around the yard and everything. What is it like for the dog to come with you guys?
Not a problem at all, because most of the campgrounds have a dog park, and along the way to a lot of the Flying J's and Loves truck stops also have dog parks. So when we stop to get gas, we stop to let the dog out. She plays at even some rest areas have dog parks now. So
Oh, so it's
she's
not
she's
hard travel because I think that's a big concern that people have is like they want to like road trip across like the US or other places, but a lot of hotels they charge the dog fee.
Right. Yeah. We used to, when we traveled before we got the RV, we used to stay at a lot of Drury hotels. And at that time, they did not charge a dog fee. But I think on our last trip before we got the RV, they charged like $100 a night, which is,
Yeah.
Drury hotels are nice too. So, that's not a problem. But, then you got to take her out in the middle of the night, get her on the elevator and go outside. And whereas in the RV, you just walk out the door.
Wow. So like when I'm just trying to imagine. So like cuz like at the winery there's no showers or anything. So like you have your RVs connected to a shower from outside and stuff, like to
We
shower in
have,
it.
yep, no, we have a shower inside, a full
Oh, you have
size
a shower
shower.
inside. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a full size shower. And we fill our fresh water tank, so we have enough, plenty of water. The fresh water will last a week if we, as long as we conserve it. So yeah, we can shower in it and everything else.
Do you time your showers per like because you know how sometimes like when you're at a house you just like forget all like so you have to time it very carefully when you're in the RV then, huh?
If we're boondocking, we have endless hot water in ours. So when we're hooked up to a sewer, it's no problem. We can take a shower like a normal house. Whereas if we're boondocking, then we're taking a Navy shower, which is you turn the water on and you soap up, and then you turn the water off while you're soaping up. And then when you're ready to rinse, you turn it back on.
Wow. So it's like literally from like like let's say like a 10-minute shower to half the time amount of shower because you have to like turn it on and off.
Right, right.
Wow. So like when you do that, how like I've never hooked up anything to a sewage. Is it hard like doing like these kind of things, like the sewage hookups and stuff?
Nope, it screws right on. You just pop it right on and you put the other end in the hole in the ground and you pull the handle. That's it.
Sounds so simple. You're like, it's not that. Well, you know what makes sense? I've never like stayed overnight in an RV, so that's why like, I've never stayed in one. So I don't know all the like the different mechanics. Like for me, as a person who's never stayed in an RV, I think of like, well, what do I do about the trash? And what do I do about like, what happens if the toilet smells? What happens if I have to take a number two? Is it gonna stink up for days? Like, because it's so small. Like how like these different questions that I have.
Yeah, well, there is, it can stink for, a while after you go. There's a fan in the bathroom though, so you just turn it on and let stink go out. As long as you clean the tank when you're dumping, it doesn't usually smell. If you don't clean it properly, then it will smell. And it will smell up
Oh.
the RV. So, but yeah, and some people can't, some people can't RV. The best thing for people to do is to rent an RV to see if they can do it for a couple days and see how it feels. Some people can't handle dumping tanks and stuff like that. You have to.
How do you just hold your nose when you do it, or how do you manage to like dump the tanks and stuff?
You don't really smell it. I mean,
Oh, you don't?
no,
Yeah.
because the one is hooked up and it's, hooked up solid, so it's not going to leak. And then the other one is in the ground. So, unless you're bending over the hole as you're dumping, which normally you aren't, you don't smell it.
'Cause that's my major concern with the like, so if you had to take a number 2, do you just go inside the winery to do that then? If you have to use the restroom like that,
No,
like
no, I'm more comfortable in my RV.
really?
Yeah,
Wow, I mean,
but
that's
some
the
people, yes, some people like my cousin, they'll use the campground bathrooms and stuff, when they're at a campground with a bathroom. But no, I prefer my own.
wow, I'm just amazed because, like, I remember, like, whenever I go, like, to hiking trails in California and stuff, some of the restrooms are so nasty, so that's why I'm like, I can't,
Yeah,
like
like
yeah,
in the national parks, you go in the bathroom and it's that big hole in the, toilet,
yeah.
and you look down and you can see everything, but no, it's not like that at all.
That's what I think of when I think of, like,
Yeah.
our I don't know why I think of that, but that's what I think of for, like, terms of, like restrooms and stuff like how like and then when that happens I'm like no I can't do this I'm going to the bushes I
Yeah,
can't
yeah. No,
do
I know
it
some of them we've walked in have been pretty bad. So it's like, if you're on a hike, obviously you can't avoid that. But yeah, no, it's nothing like that.
really yeah because I just think of it I think of it like that but you're saying it's no you don't smell it when you dump it out like it's not going
Yeah.
to be like those hiking trails where the restrooms are so nasty and everything so for your mail do you just have it sent to your family's address
Nope, there's a thing, it's called My RV Mail, and we actually started that when we still lived in Florida before we even moved to Kansas, because we would go up, like I said, to Buffalo. We'd go for a couple weeks, and our mail person liked to put mail in our mailbox when we weren't there, even though I had my mail held. So we just switched our address to a mailbox, and whenever I need my mail, I can see it, I can view it online. If I need something scanned, they'll scan it so I can read it. And then if I need something, like if I get something like maybe a new credit card or something, I just put in to have my mail sent to me wherever I am, and it takes like 2 days.
so it's really not disrupting your life or anything like this life on the road it's like
No, it's easy.
it's just so hard to imagine, you know? Like, have your kids, have they thought about going with you?
No, one son lives in Florida, and he works for Disney. He's got two kids of his own. So, he just bought a house. They're stationary. My other son owns a restaurant in Kansas and he's got three kids there. So, yeah, he's not going anywhere. And Tim's son, he works for the Border Patrol in California. So he's not going anywhere. So, which is why the RVing life just made sense. We can visit everybody. We don't have a time limit. If we want to stay for a month, we can.
Wow, I'm just so amazed, like how like this all like kind of like happened and stuff. You're like, nope, getting rid of all the stuff. Like, what do you do about clothes and stuff for like washer and dryer? Like,
I have a washer and dryer in my RV.
oh, you do? How big
Uh-huh.
is it? Like,
It's almost full size. It's a little smaller than the house washer, but it's a separate one. Our previous RV had a combo, which it washed and dried all in the same unit. So, I mean, there's only two of us. I could do a load. We take a shower. I do a load of wash, and two loads of wash, and it's done. If I have like my bedding, I'll go to the laundromat to do that because I have a king size bed, so it's big.
and you don't even feel cramped in your RV or anything because it's like you have all your normal
No.
kitchen stuff and stuff in there.
Yep. Yep.
So it's like you transitioned over from like having like a house to now living in an RV. Your exercise is like consists of like hiking. It's not consisting of going to the gym necessarily. It's mostly about
Right.
walking around the hiking trail. And then like all the normal kitchen stuff that because people like me would be like, I need my air fryer. I need my instant pot, I need my
Yeah, I needed my air fryer. Yes, that was coming with me.
and that's like a
But
not like and you still kept all that. What do you do about so like for clothes? So that I guess the one thing you gave up on is like pretty much like clothes. Like you can't have that much clothes in an RV.
you can't. And I still probably have way too many clothes that I need to still, even after 8 years, I still need to downsize. But when you come to find out, you're wearing pretty much the same clothes all the time. You wash it and you wear it. I mean, if we're going out, I have a few dress clothes, and I don't have as many shoes as I used to. But if you ask my husband, he'll tell you that I do. But yeah, you really don't need that many clothes. It's like a capsule wardrobe, and you just figure that out, and you're good to go. We went from a 3,200 square foot house to the RV in 6 weeks. So it was a lot of downsizing, a lot of getting rid of.
Wow. So how far in advance did you buy the RV before like switching over?
We purchased it, but we didn't pick it up until the end of that 6 weeks because we lived in Kansas and we purchased it in Ohio. So the day we left Kansas, we loaded up a little trailer with our stuff and said goodbye and left to Ohio, and that was it. Picked up the RV and started our RVing life.
Wow. So do you still keep that car or you don't keep that car anymore?
We have my husband goes through cars a lot, so we've had quite a few different ones. Depends.
Okay, yeah, I was
Yeah. So it depends because when we started RVing, we had a fifth wheel, so we needed a pickup truck that would pull the fifth wheel.
yeah.
And now we have a little Chevy Colorado that we tow behind the RV because we have a class C now. So we tow it behind and we disconnect it when we want to go somewhere.
Is it hard driving an RV?
No, no, we have a Super C, so it's like a semi truck front end. There are driving classes you can take if you need to, but it's really no different than a car, just a little bigger.
Yeah, I just think of like all the tight spaces and stuff. Like you get scared, like because some of the roads are so windy and stuff, so they're so tight.
Yeah, we try to avoid those roads. We like to stay on the interstate. Some people like to take the back roads. There are a few windy roads in Tennessee that we went down only by accident, but we made it. We were good.
Oh, that's great. Well, I'm great to hear about your RV life and everything. It's so exciting just like learning from someone that like does like I've never thought like you can go explore one. Like I'm serious. I never thought you can explore wineries through an RV like that.
Yep.
Because you think of all these people like planning all these expensive trips to go to like Napa and Sonoma or wherever. You're like, nope, we're gonna do the RV. The RV, the amount that I pay is like one hotel night for a one whole year, and I'm buying like a wine bottle anyway. I'm buying a flight anyway. I'm buying whatever anyway. It's just part of it, like.
Yep. Yeah, California is on our list, I think, for next year. So we'll hit up the wineries there. And I'd like to go to Alaska too, but I have to talk somebody into it.
Because you had to go through Canada first.
Yeah, well, the roads are supposed to be really bad in Alaska, so that's why he doesn't want to go. But we'll get
Oh,
there.
that's true. So you might have to park the RV at your son's house for a while and then come back.
Yeah, no, no, we'll take it with us.
You don't want to. You don't want to park.
No, we'll go. We'll be good.
Oh wow, I love this lifestyle. If you want to learn more about Mary and living out of an RV, make sure you catch her presentation at the Bougie and Backpack Virtual Summit. If you're watching or listening to this after the summit has ended, we do have replays available. So, Mary, where can you find? Thank you.
You can find me at lifeintherv.com and also on Instagram and Facebook at Life in the RV blog.
Awesome. Make sure you, if you can, leave us a good podcast rating review so we can have more speakers like Mary come on our podcast and our virtual summit. It helps us out a lot because a lot of our sponsors and speakers find us through podcasts. All right, thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.